Hey team, and welcome back to another episode of the Funnel Academy show with me, your host, Gavin Bell. And I'm very, very excited because I am joined here by somebody that I've followed for quite some time. And as I was telling this guy off air, when I put a post out saying that I have this person, keeping the name under wraps for now, when I have this person on the show, I got a few messages and people being like, "Oh my god!" So there's a fan base out there for this guy now. I was taking a look at this person's website to look at how to introduce this person, and wow, there's a lot of fun and interesting things there. We've got this guy's an investor, entrepreneur, 6-time Amazon Audible bestseller, 2-time public speaking world record holder, which I'm very interested about, podcaster, and I could go on and on and on. That person is, of course, Rob Moore. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me, Gavin. Hi, everyone.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. How are you finding COVID lockdown life? Is that beard a permanent stay on the face, or is that something you've...
Yeah, I've always had a beard, but I just decided to grow it for the duration of the lockdown and see how big I could get it, because I figure it's a good split test. I love marketing. I've always been brought up on marketing in business, and you can't really get away with growing a beast like this under normal circumstances. But now I can. So I'm just going to let it go the whole time and see what happens. Definitely, there's been like a paradoxical, challenging time and great opportunity of this lockdown, this quarantine. I had to change my business model, probably the quickest I've ever had to change it. But I got a great kick and buzz out of that because I like to operate business fast. And I've been telling my followers and my staff and so many people for a long time now, speed is everything in business. Start now, get perfect later. Speed is important. And it's fair to say, I think quite a lot of people got complacent or lazy or just got into a routine. And the universe has just showed us, Mother Nature has showed us how we clearly needed some feedback. So my team are working 3 times as quickly as they've ever worked. Business is actually really good for us at the moment. I don't say that to gloat. I just say that because I felt like we earned that because we created lots of new online programs very quickly and we reacted very quickly. And I love working fast. I can't stand slowness. And they always say, as businesses get bigger and more corporate and more people on the board, it gets more bloated and less lean, and it takes months or years to implement decisions. And for me, that's the opposite of being an entrepreneur. And that is a slow death. I hate it. It's torture. What I love is speed and reacting fast and adapting and disrupting and figuring out things as you go. Live ongoing testing. Start now, get perfect later.
Yeah. And I think, all of those things, speed, disruption, and things that you mentioned there are probably, they have an enormous amount of value in a situation like now where you have to innovate fast and make changes. But I think they also, they obviously do pay dividends, when things are, and I'm putting quotations there, normal. And is this the kind of mentality that you've taken to business from day one and continue to take it?
Yeah, so I've always been an impatient guy, and I think that can help and hinder you in business. And when we started and we were lean and there was 5 of us, then 10 of us, then 15 of us, because across 2 training businesses and a letting agency, we now have 95 staff. Pre-lockdown, because obviously we furloughed a lot of people when that happened. And it's always been speed. It's always been about, test rather than be perfect. Get version 1 out there fast. Continual iteration and improvement on the go, as you go, not before you go. And I've always had those principles, if you like, of business. Otherwise, I think you can just procrastinate yourself into doing nothing. But as we've got bigger, that has been harder. And, I have people that come and work for me who are in the corporate world and, they're paid good money and they've got good experience. And they're like, oh, no, you have to be careful. And, you can't launch things that quickly and things take time and you've got to be patient and you've got to go through these different layers and levels of management. And at times I've kind of bought into that and it's frustrated me, but I've accepted that you have to let go of some kind of control and decisions in business. Otherwise you can't grow. And then at other times I've really resisted that. And in a way, what this COVID has proved to my team is actually everyone can work a lot faster. And why does it have to take months of meetings and like wading through treacle to get anything implemented, and all those things you want to launch and want to test? Why can't you do them now? Why can't you do them simultaneously? Why do you have to wait so long? We have launched 5, maybe 6 new online courses in the last 5 weeks. 1 brand new course a week. And some of these courses are courses I've wanted to launch for years. But myself or my team, we've told ourselves a story of why it's too soon, or why we need more time, or why we're too busy, or whatever else. The great thing about this lockdown is, all that shit we all used to focus on that didn't make any difference in our lives, the admin, the minutiae, the getting involved in debates and discussions on Facebook that would take hours a day, all the low value tasks. If you're a business person, it was like overnight, you have to get rid of all that shit and focus on what is going to survive and thrive in your business. Otherwise, you're dead in a month. And whilst that's not been the reality of us, we've got, I say this with humility, but we've got a lot of cash in the bank, and we could ride out probably years of this. It doesn't mean I want that cash to be burned, though. So I'm still acting as if we've got a month or 2 months, even though we've got years. So I almost trick myself into having some fear so I don't get complacent.
I like that. So let's talk about moving away from the shift in your business model to how you are now acquiring customers in the business, and how you have acquired customers in the business. Because I think a lot of people are probably in a situation of fear right now, and I've seen it on LinkedIn and I've seen it in various places, where they maybe have the idea to launch a course or to launch a service or to launch a business, but they say now's not the right time because nobody's in buying mode. So how have you, do you have, or as I should say, as businesses and business owners that are listening to this right now, as they come out of this COVID situation and they start to be more confident in marketing and selling the business again, what's been your main strategy for acquiring customers over the years that they can learn from? Like, do you have one kind of strategy that you push? Have you got multiple strategies that you push? How's your favorite way to acquire customers?
Okay, so I could do 3.5 hours on what you've just said. And I obviously know you like to do 20-minute episodes, so I'll keep it short and sweet. I need to go back to something you said, which I need to challenge. People aren't in buying mode right now. That's a load of nonsense. People are changing their buying behaviors now. That's the reality. So anyone who says people aren't in buying mode now, they've already lost. And I'm gobsmacked how many people say these blanket carte blanche statements, which are not based on any facts at all. So people aren't stopping spending. Okay, people might be spending less, but Amazon aren't going around saying people aren't buying. Amazon are raking it in. Delivery companies aren't going around saying people aren't buying. They're raking it in. So health and wellness and fitness, like imagine if you sell fitness equipment online, you're raking it in because everyone's buying home gyms. So you have to be careful what you say to yourself. And when people say, oh, people aren't in buying mode, that's their own fears and myopia and cognitive bias projected out onto the market. And then that becomes their reality. So in fact, they've sold themselves out and short. That's why when I learned business or started business 15 years ago, I was very grateful that I had some mentors along the way, someone called Perry Marshall, and I had other mentors. I learned a lot from Dan Kennedy. In the very, very early days of running a business, like 3 months in, I figured out marketing was the single most important function of a business, and all marketing is testing. And so if in doubt, test it out. So I've always had that desire, that education, if you like, that principle in business. So if anyone ever says anything to me that I think might work, my response is always, let's test. If anyone says anything to me they don't think will work, I'll say, let's test. So it's not about not selling or not marketing. It's about testing new products, new ad campaigns, and new platforms to see where people's buying patterns are changing. So I'll tell you some things I've learned. Because what I've loved about the last 5 weeks is it is the quickest set of tests I've ever had to do. It's like you have to test far quicker than ever, and you can't get lazy. But we've done nearly £1 million in revenue in the last 5 weeks, cash in bank. So that's probably, you can add another 50% on top of that. which is not bad going. It's a bit less than normal, but with our overhead is a third down. Not including my property portfolio or other businesses, just my training business. And what I've done is basically I've changed the lead generation from event registration to webinar registration. And that was a test. At first I thought, there's no way people are going to, there's no way I'm going to be able to make the ad cost work to do a direct to webinar, because there's just no rapport built. It's just too cold. But then when I used to just build the database, so if I could go back in years ago, all my lead gen would be to build the database, all of it. And then in the database, we'd add value through what we call nurture sequences or autoresponders, or, you know, really well written personal series, e-courses, stuff like that. We'd build this trust and goodwill with lots of content and value, which is what I try and do on social media a lot. And then we'd invite them to a webinar or to an event. So all my lead gen was database build. And that was fine when I was a £1 million business and a £5 million business. But when we became a 10 and a 15 and then a 20 million and we want to go more, you can't scale up quick enough doing that, or we couldn't. But I thought there's no way someone's just going to go on an ad, click a link, register for your event and turn up. But then I challenged myself and I thought, that's what I think, but what tells me the result is the market. So I started running direct to event reg. So a database lead will cost us £5 on average. We'll pay a little bit more maybe, but on average it'll be that. Now an event reg will cost £18 to £25. But if our events would do £1,500 per head revenue. So, you know, you get an event reg at £25. Let's say you have between 20 and 30% of them show up. And then a certain percentage of them stay to the end. And then so you can work your maths back. And then when events stopped and I got over my fear of maybe, because we had to cancel initially 220 event days, because we do about 850 event days a year pre-lockdown. And that was £4 to £6 million in potential revenue just gone. So it was almost like my own cognitive bias and fears and concerns and experience about whether webinar regis will work or not had to go out the window, and I had to test them because I had no other choice, because we weren't running an event. And then we were starting to get, when we started our webinar registrations, when we were doing paid ads, £3 a webinar reg. And then it got up a bit to 5. And on average now with the scale, so we're running 2 to 3 live streams a week, which will have about 2 to 3,500 people register on each one. So we're getting, let's say, 8,000 regis a week. Maybe a bit less, you know, if you average it out, because we don't market every week. So let's say 6,000 to 8,000 regis a week. And it was £3 a reg when, you know, we were starting. Then it went up to £5 a reg. Now it's about £7 a reg, but sustainably at 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 registrations a week, although they're not all from paid ads. So that's how we pivoted our ads. Now we're still doing database build so we can nurture. But right now we're launching courses quicker than ever online, and we have to fill them quicker than ever and selling them quicker than ever. So now back to your question, which is, you know, what's the best or the best ways that you generate leads? So I believe there's 2 types of marketing. There is direct response and brand marketing or advertising. You could add a third one, referral based marketing. So if you think about a triad or a triangle, you got referral based marketing, brand building marketing, and direct response marketing. So brand building is you join my Facebook group, listen to my podcast, come and follow me somewhere on social media. Now, I don't mind doing that if I've got extra budget, but that's really hard to track the revenue from that ad. And I don't like running ads unless I can track the revenue. And when we were flush and, you know, because we were probably doing 250 grand marketing spend a month before the lockdown, Gavin. So back then, 10% of that could have been, 20% even could have been test based. So what I mean by that is new campaigns or brand campaigns, which you can't track all the way down the line. For example, you can't track podcast ads all the way down the line, whereas you can on Google and Facebook, just because those platforms are more mature. So what we did when the lockdown happened is we reduced most of our brand related spend, which we couldn't track, and But we didn't stop our direct response marketing. So direct response is come to an event, join a webinar, buy a book, buy something. It's a call to action. Well, your followers will probably know that. So we scaled back to virtually zero our brand spend, so we could put the spend into direct response. I would say the best direct response platforms for us are Facebook ads, YouTube ads, and Google ads. And I'd probably say quality and best cost, YouTube, highest volume, Facebook. So of that 250 grand a month we spend, most of that is on A, YouTube, B, Facebook. I'd say maybe 15% of it is on Google. And then we do joint ventures and partner sends. So, we'd pay people to send marketing for us on our behalf. So nice. Those 4 ways are probably our consistently top lead gen sources, which are ad spend based.
Great. So, I mean, the funnels for your courses then, are you looking at direct add to webinar, pitch the course on the webinar?
So I like to call it ecosystem or staircase, just because I like to be English and not American. And because, I just think the word funnel, when you talk to your end users, makes them feel that they're somewhat squeezed into this, so I don't want my clients to ever think that they're funneled. So what I want is to bring them into the progressive ecosystem. And I'd like them to become a lifetime client. I'd like them to continue to be in our community for years to come. If you actually break down the journey, let's call it the customer journey, Gavin, there's loads of free assets I've created. So I've done 497 podcast episodes on one podcast, over 100 on another. I've got loads of books on Amazon and Audible. You said 6, it's actually 15, Gavin. I've been busy with my writing.
Wow.
If you YouTube me, I've got my YouTube channel is growing at up to 2,000 new subscribers a day at the moment. I make sure I'm on every platform. You Facebook me, there's Facebook groups and Facebook pages, Instagram. So I was very strategic. Back to your question about, do you focus on one marketing stream or multiple? For me, it's all about multiple. I believe in multiple streams of income. I believe in multiple lead sources. If you have one lead source and then you have a COVID virus and that kills that lead source, you have no lead sources. I think it's vital to have. We have about 18 different, scalable, consistent marketing lead sources. Facebook groups is another one. My Facebook pages is another one. So our ecosystem would be having as many free assets as you can. Because what I want people to do when they find me is to be able to consume a load of content in their home, in their gym, in their car, while they're walking, while they're running. In their home environment, they can listen to hours of me. Because if someone has 10 hours with me listening or watching, they're going to be able to decide, I like this guy, I trust him, and they're going to be in the ecosystem. Or, nah, not for me. Don't like his style, don't like his beard, don't like whatever. And then there would be either a free event, like a webinar at the moment, or there would be a book or a very small payment. So a book or my Facebook supporter program or my Patreon. And then from there would be, a £1,000 to £2,000 course. And then from the course would be a 3 to 10 grand mastermind. And then from the mastermind, there would be a high level mastermind, which 25 to 40 grand, and then mentoring, one-to-one mentoring. And we have about 15 different verticals: public speaking, social media, podcasting, various different property courses, etc. So, we create this community and we have a journey that the customer can go on for many years to come.
Nice. So I'm aware that we're coming to the end of this. So I've got a couple of questions left, which is, one is you spoke there about personal branding and how you try and be everywhere and you're creating a ton of content, which is amazing, and it's really, really good stuff. But for the majority of listeners that are listening or people that are watching live are probably at a point where they're maybe producing content, but they don't have a large audience right now. So how did you, or what advice do you have to people that are just getting started with their content creation? and how did you get attention from people when nobody knew who you were at the beginning?
Yeah. Okay, good question. So the most fundamental concept is A, consistency of content production, and B, quantity of content production. Social media rewards quantity, not just quality, because you can see some posts that are not particularly qualitative, but they get a lot of reach. So be consistent with your content. If you post in weekly, get it to 3 a week, get it to 5 a week, get it to 1 a day, get it to 2 a day, get it to 3 a day. And what you'll find on most platforms is the more you increase the volume, the more the algorithms will reward you and the more reach. So on Facebook today, I did a live at 8:30 in the morning. We've got this live. I'll wait about half an hour. Then I've got another live. Then we're posting at 5 and then we're posting at 8. So that's 5 posts today. And every time I've increased the volume, my reach, my metrics have all gone up. Now, when your reach and your metrics go up, your followers go up, because you might get on average 5 or 10 new followers or fans or subscribers per piece of content. Because naturally, you through organic reach in the algorithms, you'll find people who find you, and then they'll follow you, and they'll like you, and they'll Google you, and they'll somehow your content will be fed into their feed, and then they'll follow your page. So if you get 5 per post, increasing the amount of posts will increase the amount of followers, but it compounds. So the next time you do it, you get 6 per post, and then 7 per post, and 10 per post, and 20 per post. So that consistency was the main thing, Gavin, in terms of fundamental consistency and quantity. If you want a couple of hacks, one would be interview people who have good followings. So I've had millions of views on my YouTube channel from one interview I did with David Icke. I had 600,000 views on an interview I did with Jordan Peterson, hundreds of thousands of views on an interview I did with Grant Cardone. Now, many big influencers, they will be interviewed for free, like I am doing with you, Gavin, if they can get more reach. And you get to tap in and feed into their audience when you interview them. And then the next kind of hack is following influencers on Facebook and Instagram and creating discussion, debate, and argument with them. Because when you do, you get a mass movement of their followers onto you. There's a guy called Dan Bilzerian. He's got 25 million plus on Instagram. And he put this picture up of him kicking a kick bag, and he just wrote "no days off." And I just went on his feed and just tagged him in and just said, "I bet you've had 1 day off. And what do you think about all these Americans who are saying hustle 24/7, 365? Do you think maybe that's a bit unhealthy? Do you think maybe we're going to have mental health issues, etc.?" I didn't have a go at him, but I did create a counter argument. We got something like 23,000 views on our page in the next hour, and I got thousands of followers from that.
Brilliant.
Now, by the way, I don't like going around criticizing people. So, if you want to go and criticize people, you'll probably gain followers from that. That's not my play. But creating compelling and interesting debate on other people's socials will get people following you.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one to look at, content creation at the very beginning, because I think I'm going to link it back to what you said at the very beginning of this, which was start and perfect and test along the way, which is, from my experience in content creation, the only way that I've been able to grow is try something. Did it work? No. Okay, let's not do that. Let's try something else. That did work. Okay, let's try and try and try. Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure. I could continue speaking to you, and I'm going to have a few annoyed people because I've not been able to ask their questions. So maybe we can get you on a V2 sometime in the future. But thanks so much for coming on, and let everybody that's watching and listening to the podcast know where they can find you. So
my podcast is The Disruptive Entrepreneur. You can find that anywhere. If you follow me, Rob Moore, ROBMOORE, you can pretty much find me anywhere. Audible, Amazon. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and you can just pick your favorite social media channel. And I'm putting content out there every day now. And since the lockdown, I've increased that even more, partly as my own therapy, so that I'm not alone with my thoughts and worrying and doomsdaying about everything. So yeah, I want to say thank you for having me on your show, Gavin. Gavin, can you shout out your show for my listeners as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Funnel Academy show. So you can find it on Apple iTunes, Spotify, your favorite podcasting platforms, and we go live on Facebook and LinkedIn when we create it.
Can I ask you one quick question?
Absolutely.
So I got LinkedIn Live functionality pretty early in the day when they allowed you to get it, and we used Switcher, the app Switcher, and it was really buggy. And I mean, when I did my first LinkedIn Live, I had 20,000 people on it. When I did my 15th, I probably had 1,500, 2,000 people on it. And I think part of that was the algorithms and them favoring it in the early days. But that's Switcher would cut out halfway through, or it wouldn't start. There'd be bugs. You're streaming live from StreamYard, are you?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I used to use Wirecast, and that was kind of the same. It was really buggy, and it would cut out, and it used a massive amount of CPU. Like my computer would just sound like it was about to take off. StreamYard is great. You can go with a click of the button. You can go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, all the different platforms with just one click. It's really easy.
It's not buggy.
No, I've not had any problems with it whatsoever. You can do cool stuff like
from your phone on an app, or do you have to do on a laptop?
I don't know if they have an app, if I'm honest, but you can do cool stuff like add things to the screen and all sorts of cool fun stuff. So I would highly recommend it.
Thank you very much, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers, Rob. Cheers, everybody. See you all soon.